Thank you. Uh, I welcome all the panelists here. Some great communication professionals that we have, Priya, Shivani, Anindita, and Ina. Our first, and this being the first session, I think one of the most important topic that we're going to discuss is how women can overcome obstacles in the modern corporate world. I'll first go to Priya. Priya, how can a woman overcome gender challenges in PR for the equal career opportunities? Your thoughts?
Thank you, Siddharth. And first panel, first question. Great to be here with my co-panelists. So I think I was thinking about this question and I'd like to sort of divide it into three parts. I was thinking of my own journey, which is always the easiest for anybody to share, really. So I think when you're starting out, the first and foremost thing is getting the right break. And by what I mean by the right break is not the one which pays you the most. I think that's a mistake we sometimes make. It is not, it's a job which allows you to learn the most. Take your time, find the right organization. It needn't be the largest organization. It should be right for you in terms of starting out. You should have a boss or a mentor or enough colleagues who are willing to take you through the ropes. That's extremely important. I think the first 3 years of my life was so formative when I look back. I pretty much learned everything I had to build on in those 3 years, and I'm glad I made that investment. And also stick around. Don't jump. I think one of the things I notice, especially now that when I'm hiring, is a lot of younger people seem to jump jobs very, very quickly for various reasons. Too much work, 10% hike was given in the next one, etc. Work really hard. It's an investment you're making when you're starting out. In the middle management, what I find tends to happen is women continue working hard and doing what they are doing. Two things. One, it'll keep you there. It will not get you to the next level. If you're good at what you do, I will not promote you. I will make sure you do more of that. To go up the ladder, you need to do something different. A lot of the interesting projects are not what was defined in your KRA. They are what you hustled, spoke to enough people, figured out, and found for yourself. And when you're doing something which is slightly different, you do tend to get noticed. Make sure you also highlight that. We are not very good at it. We tend to be slightly apologetic about talking about our wins and successes. We should make sure we do enough of that. I learned that extremely late in life, but at least I'm glad I realized we need to make sure we're highlighting what we're doing well. In senior management, I think there are two things. One, interestingly, contrary to what most people think, the decision making, especially when you have these more volatile meetings where you're in a room full of men, a lot of the decision making does not happen in the room. It's already happened outside the room. It's the coffee breaks, it's the smoke breaks, it's the informal settings. Again, we women we are not very great at that. We don't find allies in the room. And we go there and we try and convince them, and then sometimes the outcome is not what we are expecting. If there is a contentious decision which needs to be made, find the right allies, convince them, and when you've come to the room, you've actually come with a decision. And you're just convincing people there. So I think at each stage, you need to learn how to navigate, find the right managers, mentors, highlight your work, talk about it. One small anecdote which I'd like to end with is 2 years back I started playing badminton, and I decided, okay, let me get back to it. And unfortunately for me, I was playing a slot which had no women. It's an all-men's gang, and we take, let me say, if you think other things are not taken seriously, amateur sport is taken extremely seriously. Took me a year to convince them to let me play with them. And over time, what I just realized is I play confidently now after, a lot of self-doubt. What I realize is you just play your game. You just become better at what you're doing, and that's what life is also about. Your work life has to be the same. That's how I look at it now.
Yeah, I think one point where you mentioned that we PR professionals don't do a good PR of ourselves. Another point where Priya spoke about was on how people jump too soon in this industry, where just a 10% hike, they don't think long term. Do you see that happening even on the corporate side? Your views on?
Well, couple of things that I'd like to, add on to what Priya said. Very interesting the way she broke it down, and it is true. What challenges we face and how we navigate them, something is very important is networking. Like she said, all the decisions are made outside. So we have to network not just for important situations, but in our day-to-day life, we need to make it a practice. And second is that we also have to be more self-aware, that where we are, how we are being perceived, and how we want to position ourselves. Now, coming back to the question of 10%, yes, in the corporate world also. If you compare between agency and corporate, of course, corporates move a little slower compared to the agency as far as, the 10% hike or a 5% hike is concerned. But this remains stagnant. A 10% hike is, looked at as a very, very basic that a person deserves. We can clearly see that the moment somebody jumps a job, there is at least a 20, 25, 30% hike. And therefore, that becomes, the motivating factor to jump. Without thinking what the repercussions will be, that in a new job, you have to start from zero again. Finding your place, finding your strength, finding your allies, all are equally important than finding just a job.
Great. Shivani, you are now at a leadership position in one of fastest growing agencies in India. What do you think are the strategies can organizations use to empower women and ensure professional growth? You've done that, you've been there. Your views on that?
Thanks, Siddharth. Very important question. Extremely important question. Is it better? Yes. Okay. So I'm saying it's a very important question, and I think a lot is being done by the corporates as well as the agency. I personally think agency per se is ahead of the curve. We've been doing a lot of things to ensure that women and gender minorities are being taken care of. In terms of the policies, I think all the startups and big corporates are focusing a lot in ensuring that there is women empowerment happening alongside. The biggest challenge that we have been facing, not just in PR but across industries, is that you have enough women at the entry level and mid-level. But just as you reach your mid-level, you tend to just prioritize your personal life. As Indra Nooyi once said, your biological clock is also ticking at the same time when your career is on a growth trajectory. Now there's a choice that one has to make. Many a times, not everybody would be as lucky as all of us sitting here. I think some of us have been lucky enough to have very supportive bosses, very, very supportive families, extremely supportive organizations to work with, but not everybody is that fortunate. And hence, it is imperative for women to continue working and moving to the next level, come up with policies which are supportive of them in various stages of their life and career. Come up with policies which are, or goals, which define their growth trajectory at the pace that they want to achieve it in. Yeah? Ensure that there is pay parity across levels. And most importantly, just be very, very supportive of women and gender minorities.
Siddharth, can I add something here? Because, we are a startup, and for us, we're 7 years old, and for us, I've seen the journey, because it started with, I think with more established organizations, there are still some policies in place probably. For us, I saw the journey, and largely, I think 3 things we sort of realize. It's marriage, mobility, and maternity, which sort of gives our reasons why women take career breaks. At least that's what the survey we ran revealed. And we realized that at least maternity is something we can try and solve for internally. And one of the things we did was, we have a daycare in campus. So at least moms who are returning back to work find it, the separation anxiety is so much that if the daycare is at work, they have the flexibility to sort of during their breaks, go and meet the kids, etc. The second thing I think which really helped, and I wish I had that when I was getting back to work as a mom. We only had, by the way, only had 3 months leave. Now it's 6 months with up to a year of, of flexibility. It's great times to be working in, honestly. We tagged a mentor to each of the moms who was returning, and this was typically somebody who had gone through the journey. So for instance, I could be mentoring a young mom and sort of talking to her about some of the challenges she's facing. A large part of it is also emotional. It's not like they're less competent just because they've had a kid, but the emotional, baggage of sort of leaving a small kid and coming back is, and also self-doubt, because often enough, when you're back after 1.5 years, you have colleagues who've moved up and who were 2 levels up. So I think a lot of it is also just making sure they're mentally feeling up to it, because, and some of these women have actually, one of my colleagues actually handled 2 of our most critical projects after she came back, and she was thankful for the support. So I think having the infrastructure where some part of the maternity is taken care of, it's a huge game changer is what I think.
Just adding in here, I think a guilt-free work environment is critical for the success, not just for women, but also for men. Many a times we live with that guilt that I'm either ignoring my work or I'm ignoring my child or my family requirement. So if we can create that kind of an environment wherein people don't feel guilty about taking days off or working that extra time, that's the kind of culture that we need to bring.
But is enough happening? Is our organization strategy, Anindita, if you want to add in, is that happening? You see organization doing enough, or there's still a lot to be done?
A lot has started happening, and of course there's a long way to go here. I can talk about my company. We ensure that we create that flexibility for women, and there's a reason why we have almost 80% representation in senior leadership of women. It's primarily because of the conducive work environment that we create for them. And I'm not just talking about women, I'm also talking about gender minority. So 80% covers gender minority and women.
On Purpose is doing a great job.
Add to it, I feel just to continue from what Shivani said, this guilt-free environment, now it is more than the corporates. I think we ourselves at home, we need to create that environment, because still we are in the era where we feel that a certain work JD of our household belongs to women, and if it's a grocery or vegetable getting it online, or if you go, that maybe belongs to men, and if the maid doesn't come, your utensils and cooking. So this very mindset first needs to change, because your individual development manifests your has a manifestation on your professional development. So I think from the kids at home, if we set that culture, and it's not by saying or speaking here, practice what you preach. If we set that example, our small children, like boys, they should grow up in an atmosphere, the small girl child should grow up in an atmosphere of feeling that everything in the household is the responsibility of every individual. So then it gets translated.
Yeah, so we actually had a washing powder ad. I don't exactly, it's for either Ariel or Surf Excel.
Got a lot of flack.
Yeah, share the load. So I think that will be the crux. If we start from there, when we move a couple of years down, I'm sure the environment will be much conducive.
And the guilt feel which you said, it's not only that you're coming home late for work. Even if you're going for a movie, you need time for yourself. So just be absolutely guilt-free for the day.
No, absolutely. I don't know why there should be any guilt. Whether it's a man or a woman, if you're working and we're contributing to everything in the household or a job, it's the same. There is no question of feeling any guilt. Anindita, I'll come to you on the next question. And how can women advocate for inclusive policies and contribute to diversity in the organizations? Your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks. See, now, how can women do? For almost all the organizations, I would say it's there only on the pie chart. But as far as the execution level is there, we tend to forget what we what we announce as this is our principle and values. more than the corporations or the organizations, I think, you know, we live in an atmosphere where until a law comes, that enforcement is, it like somewhere triggers us to follow. Now 2013 Act said that at least one woman should be in the board. Then it was revised. So what happened was, most of the boards had women members who were the family members. So they used to sit there for the signatory purpose, just as signatories. So ultimately, as you said, the decisions were always made. Then 2016 Act said that at least one independent woman director should be on the board. Now, until and unless we move away from this word at least, we cannot reach what we really want to achieve. Because there was a Deloitte study which said that 2045 we might reach gender parity. So just see where we are. We sit here, we talk, we advocate, but when it comes to implementing them, we are far behind, because the very strict policies and law is not there. Mr. Batra, he mentioned that how many, if we take a survey, how many women, they want to be the CEOs. Our aspiration level also needs to go up. Inclusiveness, I'll tell you, I'm a member, active member of Cyberabad Security Council. I hail from Hyderabad. So there we do a lot of trainings to LGBTQ communities. So when it comes to corporates giving them job, we don't see that willingness to come forward. And very interestingly, when we spoke to a few of the LGBTQ members that we are asking for the applications, why aren't you sending it to us? One question moved everyone away. It just moved. We were moved by that. She came and told us, "Ma'am, can you tell me? Okay, I'll join in the organization we are asking me to join. Which is the washroom I should use?" We were zapped, no answers, because most of the organizations, they hardly have, your restrooms for physically challenged people, and talking about LGBTQ communities. So that inclusiveness, that policy, everything, it is only we need to implement that. We need to believe in that. That very idea and thought has to seep in us. Otherwise, it's very difficult. Even the policies come. I'll tell you, I've worked in an organization where mostly I always report to the CEOs and MDs. So I used to call the cabinet, because all the HODs who directly reported to them. So many times I found that all the HODs, they were going out for a drink, or they were going out watching a cricket match. Even I love cricket. I understand a fair bit of cricket, but I was never included. So one day I went and asked to a CEO, "Sir, why is this?" He said, "No, people don't feel comfortable. Maybe while talking, while watching the match or enjoying, they may use some terms which you might not be comfortable. If you're there, they are not comfortable." So there are situations like this. There are instances like this. It's all about mindset. And for government, I'm a strategic advisor to Diversify. So basically, what they do is they prepare women to be C-suite leaders, and also prepare them for independent directorship role. We have a lot of members, but we don't have organizations who are willing to come forward and recruit more than one more than one women director. So there lies the problem. The policies have to be strong, and it has to be supported by the government. Maybe some forum, or even the women welfare minister. People need to wake up from some traditional concepts and thought which we still have in our head. And irrespective of gender, which I'm saying, even women has that.
I just like to add there, she's absolutely right. It's the mindset shift that is required. I mean, while their policies might be there, every organization has their COC policy, the POSH policies, XYZ. But how stringently we are following, or is it just the policies that we really want to talk about? It's now far beyond that. Women need to find a place, but why are we talking about women trying to find a place? We are already there. We are proving ourselves in many domains. It's time that there's more of awareness, education done with the men folks so that women can find a place on the table, a seat on the table. What I've also seen is most of the time women are there in the support roles, support functions, which are easier, which are comfortable, which don't have the balance sheets of profit and P&L in question. The moment we start, as women, we A, start showcasing the confidence that we know the numbers, and B, men start taking women seriously in the P&L and the balance sheet kind of jobs, I'm sure that is when women will find a better place, women will be at a better place for sure.
I've got a point to make here. I think inclusion starts when you are in a position of power. Okay. Now, if you look at women leaders, we talk about entry level, we talk about mid level, but in the leadership position, you have very few women or people from other gender diversified sectors. Now, these are the very policies which impact women, but who is taking those? Who is making those policies? So, unless and until we have fair representation of women and people from other genders, I don't think we can ever come up with an inclusive policy which is impacting each one of us.
Siddharth, I want to ask you a question. And the rest of my amazing co-panelists, I was just hearing them talk. So my question was, as a woman leader, I tend to cringe at some of the stuff we do, which is tokenism. I'll give you an example. I'm not a fan of Women's Day. I love being given cakes, and I love every boutique in town giving me a discount because I'm a woman. But I do think I've noticed a lot of organizations sort of restrict their inclusiveness to the Women's Day celebration. It's one checkbox done. So what do you all think of it? Because I think in the day of social media and doing the right things and reels, a lot of inclusiveness is also about tokenism. So what's your view on it, and how strongly do you feel about it?
Well, I would I'd like to jump in there because trust me, celebrating Women's Day is something I've never believed in. Why do women need to be empowered? We are already empowered. Come on, a celebration is what? You're just trying to tell us that it's your day. This is the only day that you have. 365 days are our days. We don't need that one day.
What do you think, Siddharth?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think you can put a day of celebration for anything. Why not? We're talking about the challenges, talking about the opportunities. We're not talking about for one day. It's throughout the year. It's throughout the life. So I think you're right. Those were made as a start, but I think that's not something that you should continue with for a long time. I think every day is a Women's Day, and that's what we have to celebrate. And talking about from your cricket thing, PRCI has a cricket match in yearly, and everybody plays from the organization. It's not that only men have to play cricket. So I think there is a movement, but it can't just be seen as a tick box. She said it has to come naturally. You don't have to think about anything like that.
For me, I personally, I don't wish Happy Women's Day or get those WhatsApp messages or a wish back. I think every day is Women's Day and everything is Men's Day. Nowadays we celebrate Men's Day also. But coming to the celebration, and especially at workplace, I would completely, it's not that what I believe. See, at times you have to say it's not only what you believe, because you may have a different background, you may have a different upbringing, you may have seen the better side of the society. But there are many staff in your office, especially the unsung heroes or sheroes, the people who have, they were born and they were raised seeing certain things in life and being deprived and not even raising their voice. So it is just celebrating womanhood. It can be any day, not necessarily 8th of March. Any day, celebrating womanhood and also to remind everyone that you have to be gender neutral. There can be a day for everyone. For them, it is very important. I'll tell you, one of the Women's Day celebration at our workplace, one year I went to my MD who I report to, and said, sir, I have a different plan to celebrate Women's Day this time, and let us, not the HODs and big people, go and do the bhashan baji. Okay, I have some plans. So what I did basically, all the housekeeping staff, all the sweepers or underprivileged workers, I brought everyone, from the emceeing to performance to word of thanks to we had some guest speakers to felicitate those speakers. One of them at the reception after the event, she came to me and she was had tears in her eyes and said, ma'am, no one showed us this respect earlier. It is just to make them feel happy, because see, we come to parties, we go to pub, we go for conferences, we speak, we do all the high profile things. They don't get an opportunity. So one day, a special day, a different type of a day, celebrating one day, that is Women's Day for me, and that is the reason I completely don't negate the idea of Women's Day.
It's an interesting perspective, completely, yeah.
So we all worked through COVID on the virtual environments, and now I think hybrid is the way all organizations are following up. And Ina, I'll come to you on that. How can women navigate the virtual environments, and how do we ensure that the voices are heard, considering now a lot of meetings are still online and hybrid is the way to go?
Well, I would say that COVID-19 impromptu taught us a lot of things, and virtual world was the first time that we got introduced during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now that the hybrid work culture is on, I feel navigating meetings, whether it's virtual or on ground or in person, still remains the same, and there are some very common points that we have to look forward to. I think, according to me, the first point would be to ask, are you required in that meeting? We get numerous meeting invites, but one needs to check if you are required in that meeting. What is your participation? What is the agenda of the meeting, and how are you contributing to that meeting? Now, if you don't have a clarity, either seek for it or else decline politely. That is the first thing. Second, I would say that if you are invited for a meeting, please be prepared. Just don't show up for the meeting as if you're nobody. You want to be seen as somebody who knows the subject, who's prepared with the subject. Third is ask relevant questions. If you're just sitting as a listener, as a spectator, you will certainly not be heard or seen. So to make yourself seen, you need to ask relevant questions. So be focused in the meetings, interject, ask questions, and show confidence. And I think most important is, in virtual world, please switch on your cameras. I think that will make you more visible than anything else.
They were challenged, we were discussing about challenge in the offline world. And the challenge in the online world would not be more different or would be even more. Priya, Shivani, if you want to add to that.
Siddharth, I think the discourse got slightly more polite because people were raising hands. So I've never seen that happen in a offline meeting. So at least there was some protocol you followed, because there were way too many people talking. So you would insist, please raise hands, please put in questions. So I don't think it was, honestly, I thought there were a lot of at least teams where women were not speaking up in a offline world. They were more comfortable in an online world. Maybe my view is slightly contrary there, because the anonymity of the screen probably just made them more confident about things. And as I said, so in some meetings I found the discourse very civil, because people were being given a chance to talk, and you were sort of, if I was running a meeting, I'd say, okay, the next person is this one and the next person is this one. But having said that, see, finally, online or offline, you have to speak up. I mean, you have to start somewhere. So you have to take the first step, really. So I don't know. My personal experience was that I found the online world for a lot of people very, and also younger people are anyway online half the time. So for them it was maybe a very, very comforting world from the gaming console to the meeting console. One more game on.
Shivani, you lead a lot of you women employees. So did
So
you
I
face
would
any
say-
challenge?
I would say the fundamentals, whether it is the offline working environment or the online working environment, it remains the same. You have to speak up to be heard. If you think somebody else is going to speak on your behalf, that will not happen. So have a voice of your own, have an opinion of your own, and I think we all tend to not speak up many a times. It's important to do that and be intentional about what matters to you. That's one. That's something that you can do on your own part. The second thing, from an organization's point of view, what probably organizations can do is create a safe environment where people can share their opinion, share their, voices. Have mentorship program. Many a times people or women particularly may not be comfortable talking on camera or in person or in a meeting. Ensure that you have mentors who are training them to bring them up to speed, to come to a situation when they feel more confident about themselves. At the end of the day, जो दिखता है वो बिकता है.
Anindita, do you think the online and the virtual and the hybrid world, the challenges are more or less for inclusivity and diversity?
Challenges are more at home. Because, first of all, you need a proper infrastructure and support. And you, as in we, women, and the household should not feel कि अच्छा घर का काम करते करते मीटिंग कर लेंगे, ऑनलाइन कर लेंगे. Then that's a non-professionalism. So you can be equally heard, you can equally contribute, you can take a decision, you can be visible. You have, only thing is that since you're not physically, there in the office, you have to keep a closer tab on all the deliverables, the deadlines, and also the team's performance, whether the KRAs are proper. Otherwise, I don't see much of a difference as long as you, in your mind, you're professional, that as if this is your office time and you're in office.
When the world opened up, my wife's office was offline and mine was hybrid. I think I faced a lot of challenges being online with everybody coming in courier, and I've been presenting. So yeah, there are challenges. I think the challenge is for everyone. And I thank the panel for a great conversation that we had.